Yeah. Iota. It started. It's getting windy outside. Just think about the book of Matthew, chapter 5. Jesus says, "Not one dot, not one iota will pass from the law until all is fulfilled." So think about that. Don't think about the hurricane. But anyways, as I look out the window, the rains are here, the wind is picking up. So this is a hurricane reading. And I'm going to read the chapter of Peaches. Makes me think of Georgia and back home. It's been a while. Los duraznos. Here we go. Now, along with her prayers for Abuelita and Mama, Esperanza prayed for Marta and her mother at the washtub grotto. Papa's roses, although still short and squat, had promising tight buds, but they weren't the only flowers there. She often found that someone had put a posy of sweet alyssum in front of the statue, or a single iris, or had draped a honeysuckle vine over the top of the tub. Lately she had seen Isabel there, every evening after dinner, kneeling on the hard ground. "Isabel, are you saying a novena?" asked Esperanza when she found her at the statue, yet again one night. "It seems you have been praying for at least 9 days. Isabel got up from her dedication and looked up at Esperanza. "I might be the Queen of May. In 2 weeks, on May Day, there is a festival at my school and a dance around a pole with colored ribbons." Whew. Sounds like paganism. "The teacher will choose the best girl student in the 3rd grade to be queen. And right now, I am the only one who has straight A's." Looks like Munoz has been reading the Golden Bough. "Then it might be you," said Esperanza. "My friends told me that it is usually one of the English speakers that is chosen, the ones who wear nicer dresses. So I'm going to pray every day." Esperanza thought about all the beautiful dresses she had outgrown in Mexico. How she wished she could have passed them on to Isabel. Esperanza began to worry that she would be disappointed. "Well, even if you're not queen, you will still be a beautiful dancer, right?" "Oh, Esperanza, but I so much want to be the queen. I want to be la reina, just like you." She laughed. "But regardless, you will always be our queen." Esperanza left her there devoutly praying and went into the cabin. "Has a Mexican girl ever been chosen Queen of the May?" she asked Josefina. Josefina's face took on a disappointed look, and she silently shook her head. "No, I have asked. They always find a way to choose a blonde, blue-eyed queen." The enemy. See what's going on? "But that's not right," said Esperanza, "especially if it's based on grades. There is always a reason." "That is the way it is," said Josefina. "Melina told me that last year the Japanese girl had the best marks in the 3rd grade, and still they did not choose her." "And what is the point of basing it on marks?" asked Esperanza, knowing there was no answer to her question. Her heart already ached for Isabel. Getting into a little critical theory here. A week later, Esperanza put yet another bundle of asparagus on the table after work. The tall and feathery asparagus plant seemed to be as unrelenting as Isabel's desire to be queen. The workers picked the spears from the fields, and a few days later the same fields had to be picked again because new shoots were already showing their heads. And Isabel talked of nothing else except the possibility of wearing the winner's crown of flowers on her head. Remember, guys, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Follow the Lord, He'll give you what you need. "I hate asparagus," said Isabel, barely looking up from her homework. "During grapes, you hate grapes. During potatoes, you hate potatoes. And during asparagus, you hate asparagus. I suppose that during peaches, you will hate peaches." Isabel laughed. "No, I love peaches." Hortensia stirred a pot of beans, and Esperanza took off the stained apron she wore in the sheds and put on another. She began measuring the flour to make tortillas. In a few minutes she was patting the fresh dough that left her hands looking as if she wore white gloves. "My teacher will choose the Queen of May this week," said Isabel. Her entire body wiggled with excitement. "Yes, you have told us," said Esperanza, teasing her. "Do you have anything new to tell us?" "They are making a new camp for the people from Oklahoma," said Isabel. Esperanza looked at Hortensia. "Is that true?" Hortensia nodded. "They announced it at the camp meeting. The owner of the farm bought some army barracks from an old military camp and is moving them onto the property not too far from here. Wait till you see how good they have it. You can make a prediction." "They get inside toilets and hot water and a swimming pool," said Isabel. "Our teacher told us all about it, and we will be able to swim in it." "1 day a week," said Hortensia, looking at Esperanza. "The Mexicans can only swim on Friday afternoons before they clean the pool on Saturday mornings." Esperanza pounded the dough a little too hard. "Do they think we are dirtier than the others?" Hortensia did not answer, but turned to the stove to cook a tortilla on the flat black comal over the flame. She looked at Esperanza and held her finger to her mouth, signaling her not to discuss too much in front of Isabel. Miguel walked in, kissed his mother, then picked up a plate and a fresh tortilla and went to the pot of beans. His clothes were covered in mud that had dried gray. "How did you get so dirty?" asked Hortensia. Miguel sat down at the table. A group of men showed up from Oklahoma. They said they would work for half the money, and the railroad hired all of them. He looked into his plate and shook his head. "Some of them have never even worked on a motor before. My boss says that he didn't need me, that they were going to train new men. He said I could dig ditches or lay tracks if I wanted." Esperanza stared at him, her floured hands in midair. "What did you do?" "Can you not tell from my clothes? I dug ditches." His voice was sharp, but he continued eating as if nothing were wrong. "Miguel, how could you agree to do such a thing?" said Esperanza. Miguel raised his voice. "What would you have me do instead?" "I could have walked out, but I would have no pay for today. Those men from Oklahoma have families too. We must all work at something, or we will all starve." A temper Esperanza did not recognize raised to the surface. Then, like the irrigation pipes in the fields when the water is first turned on, her anger burst forth. "Why didn't you tell your boss? Why did the others to dig ditches?" She looked at the dough she was holding in her hand and threw it at the wall. It stuck for an instant, and then slowly slid down the wall, leaving a darkened trail. Isabel's serious eyes darted from Miguel to Esperanza to Hortensia. "Are we going to starve?" "No!" they all answered at the same time. Esperanza's eyes were on fire. She stamped out of the cabin, slamming the door, and walked past the mulberry and the chinaberry trees to the vineyard. She hurried down a row and then cut over to another. "Esperanza!" She heard Miguel's voice in the distance, but she didn't answer. When she got to the end of the row, she moved up to another. "Anza!" She could hear him running down the rows, catching up with her. She kept her eyes on the tamarisk trees in the far distance and walked faster. Miguel eventually caught her arm and pulled her around. "What is the matter with you? Is this the better life that you left Mexico for? Is it? Nothing is right here. Isabel will certainly not be queen, no matter how badly she wants it, because she is Mexican. You cannot work on engines because you're Mexican. We have gone to work through angry crowds of our own people who threw rocks at us, and I'm afraid they might have been right. They send people back to Mexico even if they don't belong there, just for speaking up. We live in a horse stall, and none of this bothers you? Have you heard that they are building a new camp for Okies with a swimming pool? The Mexicans can only swim in it on the afternoon before they clean it. Have you heard that they'll be given inside toilets and hot water? Why is that? Miguel, is it because they are the fairest in the land? Tell me, is this life really better than being a servant in Mexico? Miguel looked out over the grapes where the sun set low on the horizon, casting long shadows in the vineyard. He turned back to her. In Mexico, I was a second-class citizen. I stood on the other side of the river, remember? And I would have stayed that way my entire life. At least here I have a chance, however small, to become more than what I was. You obviously can never understand this, because you have never lived without hope. She clenched her fists and closed her eyes tight in frustration. Miguel, do you not understand? You are still a second-class citizen because you act like one, letting them take advantage of you like that. Why don't you go to your boss and confront him? Why don't you speak up for yourself and your talents? You're beginning to sound like the strikers, Esperanza, said Miguel coldly. There is more than one way to get what you want in this country. Maybe I must be more determined than others to succeed, and I know that it will happen. Aguántate tantito a la fruta caerá en tu mano. The word stopped her as if someone had slapped her face. Papa's words. Wait a little while and the fruit will fall into your hand. But she was tired of waiting. She was tired of Mama being sick and Abuelita being far away and Papa being dead. As she thought about Papa, tears sprang from her eyes and suddenly felt weary, as if she had been clinging to a rope but didn't have the strength to hold on any longer. She sobbed with her eyes closed and imagined that she was falling, with the wind whooshing past her and nothing but darkness below. Anza! Could I fall all the way back to Mexico if I never opened my eyes again? She felt Miguel's hand on her arm and opened her eyes. Anza! Everything will work out. Esperanza backed away from him and shook her head. How do you know these things, Miguel? Do you have some prophecy that I do not? I have lost everything, every single thing, and all the things that I was meant to be. See these perfect rows, Miguel? They are like what my life would have been. These rows know where they're going, straight ahead. And now my life is like the zigzag in the blanket on Mama's bed. I need to get out Abuelita here, but I cannot send her my pitiful savings for fear my uncles will find out and keep her there forever. I pay Mama's medical bills, but next month there will be more. I can't stand your blind hope. I don't want to hear your optimism about this land of possibility when I see no proof. As bad as things are, we have to keep trying. But it does no good. Look at yourself. Are you standing on the other side of the river? No. You are still a peasant. With eyes as hard as green plums, Miguel stared at her and his face contorted into a disgusted grimace. And you still think that you're a queen. The next morning, Miguel was gone. He had told his father he was going to Northern California to look for work on the railroad. Hortensia was confused and worried that he would leave so suddenly, but Alfonso reassured her. He is determined. And he is 17 now. He can take care of himself. Esperanza was too ashamed to tell anyone what was said in the vineyard, and she secretly knew Miguel's leaving was her fault. When she saw Hortensia's anxiety, Esperanza felt the heavy responsibility for his safety. She went to Papa's roses, and when she saw the first bloom, her heart ached because she wished she could run and tell Miguel, "Please, Our Lady," she prayed, "don't let anything happen to him, or I will never be able to forgive myself for the things that I have said." So we'll pause there and we'll read the next part of the chapter in the next video. But yeah, Miguel's telling Esperanza, be patient. Things don't just work out immediately. Even in my life, like, I understand that if you want something good, okay, so you have to work for it for 20 years. If you want something better, then work for it for another 20 years. And the problem today is people want things instantly, and that's not how it works. And so everything is a battle. Miguel is telling her to be patient, and Esperanza doesn't understand this hope that Miguel has. Miguel has this incredible hope, and she doesn't have it. And so I'll just finish off with a brief reading from the book of Hebrews on faith, because I believe that this is what Miguel has that Esperanza is missing. So a short little verse, Hebrews chapter 11, beautiful passage. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. See, this is what Miguel has. For by it the elders obtained a good testimony. By faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which are visible. So Esperanza needs to develop spiritually as a character, and Miguel, he's much more mature, and we see this in the book. So good job, guys. Stay tuned. I'll keep you updated on the hurricane. You could see the winds are blowing outside. See the tree moving? Yeah, and it's heavy rain. All right, see you guys.